Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome to this 10th anniversary edition of the Berkeley Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast. We are excited to bring this presentation to you on this morning via these electronic media. We're used to meeting in person, but we're glad to have this opportunity to fellowship together even in this particular way. We're able to come together despite pandemics. We're able to come together despite uprisings. We're able to come together in unity and community to celebrate the legacy of Dr. King. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Tony Hughes. I'm the senior pastor of the St. Paul AME Church on Ashby. Let me introduce right away my co-host, Captain Cynthia Harris, retired from the Berkeley Police Department.
Good morning and welcome to our 10th annual anniversary Martin Luther King celebration. This year's theme is Beyond the Dream, Black Lives Matter. And although we had hoped to have an in-person breakfast, we couldn't do that. But we are so thankful that you are able to gather with us virtually, and we so appreciate it. We would like for you to use the chat feature if you feel the ability to do so, and please provide your feedback. Again, welcome, and we are so glad that you are joining us. Next, we will have Tarina Love sing Lift Every Voice and Sing. Thank you.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you, Tarina. Let me introduce at this time Wangmo Dixie, who is the Executive Director of the Dharma College of Berkeley. She will lead us in our invocation.
Thank you. I'm so deeply honored to be here with all of you today as we come together in this virtual space to honor the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. I'd like to begin this morning with his enlightened words. I've decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. In 2020, we have seen unprecedented levels of hate. Violence, racism, anger, national riots have all spread across the United States. Our country is bleeding from deep wounds. Our natural environment is also suffering, as we have seen this year with an increase of wildfires, hurricanes, and tornadoes. Just let alone in the last 9 months, we've lost close to 2 million lives who've died from COVID, and now almost 94 million have been infected with COVID worldwide. Some of us may be feeling just a sheer exhaustion with all this difficult news. So how do we go forward? As Buddhists, we are taught to recognize that suffering can lead us to a deeper appreciation of our life and our circumstances. Dr. Martin Luther King was also unflinching in the face of difficulty. He embodied love. And my wish is that we could all embody this love and become a true sacred spiritual warrior with fierce compassion. We can use our internal landscape as a foundation for understanding our mind and perception. So let us use these difficult times as a way for us to go inside with whatever feelings are arising, those of trepidation, anger, fear, to explore our reactions and to see that we do live in this beloved community where we all need to help and support each other. Let us begin to befriend these poisons and transmute them into understanding of mind and self. We know too well that our minds receive these inputs and read them back as feedback. So our internal landscape reflects our responses just as we see our face in the mirror. Let us begin to recognize that our healing comes from within. Let us place our hand on the heart as a kind gesture and hold our feelings with compassion. I am sticking with love, as Dr. King said. Hate is too great burden to bear. May our own heart stick with love and goodness and caring and commitment to being human. May our coming together be of benefit to all beings everywhere. Let us make today a moment in our personal history where we bring back love to ourselves and to each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We so appreciate that. Next, we'll hear from our esteemed City of Berkeley Mayor, Jesse Arreguín.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Martin Luther King Day. One more round of applause for the amazing Berkeley High Jazz Band. Weren't they phenomenal? Thank you for joining us this morning as we continue to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. King. And while Dr. King is such a revered figure in the history of this nation and this world, let's also remember that he was a radical, and he believed in a radical redistribution of wealth in our society and addressing systemic racism. He talked about systemic racism and how it, while all the laws that Congress could pass to secure voting rights and participation in our democracy were a step forward, until we address economic inequality, we're not going to achieve true equality for all people. And so this year, the 10th year that we're celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday in Berkeley, is not just important because of COVID-19, but because of all the events that have unfolded these past 12 months. The murder of George Floyd unleashed an intensity of righteous anger that's unparalleled in recent history and has exposed the dark underbelly of America that's plagued with racism and led to protests from coast to coast chanting 3 words: Black Lives Matter. So let's reflect on being Black in America today. When peaceful Black Lives Matters protesters marched in DC, they were met with tear gas and unprecedented force. Yet, last week, we saw armed white supremacists attacking the Capitol, and they were met with a tepid response. That's an example of the systemic racism that we see in our society. And COVID-19 does not discriminate by race, but yet it's shown that structural racism in our healthcare system exists when Latinx and African Americans are twice as likely to die due to COVID-19. So what does Black Lives Matter really mean? It's not just a slogan. It's a movement born in response to systemic oppression and violence against African Americans. And we as a nation cannot move forward if we do not recognize and correct the sins of the past. And all the rhetoric in the world is not enough to make change. We need to take action, including here in our own community. We have to recognize that systemic racism exists here in Berkeley. We really have 2 Berkeleys. Depending on where you live and the color of your skin, you're more likely to be arrested. You're more likely to have asthma and heart disease and diabetes and other serious illnesses. You're more likely to contract COVID-19, and you're less likely to succeed in school and society. If we are truly to realize Dr. King's dream of a beloved community, and if we are really to live up to our values, we need to address the systemic racism that exists in our own community and throughout society. That's what Dr. King would be doing today. He would be in the streets marching with us. He'd be demanding that we make change happen. So we need to not only honor his life and his legacy, but carry on his work every single day to achieve a beloved community. So today I ask that you think about what Black Lives Matter means to you and what steps and actions you can take towards moving to fulfilling Dr. King's dream. Thank you for having me today. Thank you to the planning committee for all your work in organizing this event. And let us continue every single day to live Dr. King's dream. Thank you.
And so just as I say, we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
We will have at this time a brief video. It'll contain its own introduction, but it's a rendering from Young, Gifted, and Black from 2014.
That was an awesome performance then, and it was an awesome performance now. Next, we'll hear from Maxime Schrogen, who will introduce you to our sponsors.
Good morning, everyone. I have the privilege of introducing all the sponsors that make these wonderful breakfasts possible annually. This year, because of their generosity, we're actually able to increase the stipends we're giving to the various parties that we're awarding. First, our in-kind sponsors, Berkeley Community Media, the Berkeley Times, Berkeley Side, Lifelong Medical Care, Minuteman Press, and Pegasus Books. Our bronze sponsors are Anne Marie Hogan, the Berkeley Federation of Teachers, the Berkeley Police Association, the Berkeley Public School Fund, Congregation Bethel, the East Bay Park District through Elizabeth Eccles, the League of Women Voters, and the Wellstone Democratic Renewal Club. Our silver sponsors are District Homes, the UC Berkeley Office of the Chancellor, and Vindium Real Estate. And our gold sponsors, the Frank and Louise W. Brown Memorial Fund. Thank you again, Frank, for your constant support. Bayer Labs, Berkeley Black Police Officers Association, the Berkeley Rotary Club, Mindful Money, Jonathan Dio's firm, William Ivory Kioso Kavai and Brewer, and the SEIU Local 2015. Thank you all very much for your constant support and for making this wonderful day possible.
All right, thank you. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today. She is a native of Berkeley, having graduated from Berkeley High in 1978. She was indeed married to her husband at St. Joseph the Workman on Addison and Jefferson. But now Regina Mason is an international speaker, an author, an executive producer, and a storyteller who believes in the extraordinary will of the human spirit. Through the power of her story, she challenges audiences to recast painful chapters in America's past in a light that empowers, inspires, and transforms our thinking. She has spent 15 years researching the lives and times of her great-great-great-grandfather, pioneering fugitive slave autobiographer William Grimes. She has spent nearly a lifetime turning a negative into a positive that would one day culminate with a new edition of her ancestor's book, Life of William Grimes, the Runaway Slave, and now also an award-winning docudrama, Gina's Story, The Search for William Grimes, which is available and featured on Prime Video. She would appreciate our mentioning her book, The Life of William Grimes, a Runaway Slave, which can indeed, you can purchase a signed edition, a signed copy at her website, www.reginamason.com. And without further ado, let us receive our speaker.
I Can't Breathe has become a metaphor for the over-policing of Black people in America. To understand how we got here, my ancestor, William Grimes, gives us first-hand insight. At a time when African American autobiography was rare, William Grimes rejected the system that denied Black literacy by writing and publishing his story. Without permission or support from white people, his book, Life of William Grimes, the Runaway Slave, is a work of literary independence. Published in New York in 1825, it is the first fugitive slave narrative in American history. The United States is a rich, multi-ethnic society with a storied past right here in this country. But the American narrative has never been fully honest or inclusive in the storytelling. Marginalized people in this country have had to fight hard against structural racism for their truth to be heard. Well, such is the case of William Grimes. His book, barely touched by scholars, was buried deep for 168 years before it reached across time to me. For 5 generations, fragments of family story were kept alive until I was able to piece together his genealogy and link it to mine. It then became my mission to bring his story to a new generation. So in 2008, after years of research, I co-edited a new edition of the Grimes narrative with Professor William L. Andrews from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. He is an expert on early African American autobiography. William Grimes was born in King George County, Virginia in 1784 on the heels of the American Revolution. His father, Benjamin Grimes, was a wealthy white planter who inherited Eagle's Nest, and his mother was an enslaved Black woman owned by Dr. Stewart on a neighboring plantation. At the age of 10, he was sold to a far-off plantation where he knew no one. He grew up to be a rebellious slave. He endured 10 owners, 4 from Virginia and 6 from Savannah, Georgia. In 1815, he escaped from slavery as he hid among bales of cotton on a vessel bound for New York. From there, he made his way to New Haven, where he began a new life, even though he was still a fugitive on the run. He lived in constant fear of apprehension, which weighed heavy on his psyche. He was always looking over his shoulder, fearful that his master was hot on his trail. Whenever that happened, he would just uproot altogether for another New England town. That same fear, I imagine, lives in the minds of the undocumented today. Well, 9 years later, Grimes' worst nightmare happens. His master finds him. By this time, he is married, he has children, he's a homeowner, and a barber by profession. He had no choice but to give up the deed to his home in order to pay for a freedom that was never fully recognized. Well, shortly after his ordeal, he began to write his story, one that reads like no ordinary memoir. Instead, to recount his life is to put the hypocrisy of American liberty and democracy on blast. Bill Andrews likes to say that his book reads like a list of grievances against the United States. And it was through Bill that I learned just how precedent-setting the Grimes narrative is. William Grimes was the first person to go through slavery in the South and write about it. Now, he's not merely writing for himself. His narrative gives voice to all of those who were never allowed to speak their truth. His book is significant for many reasons, but in today's climate, it amplifies a deeply entrenched culture of the over-policing of black bodies in the United States and the rise of the prison system that designed to control them. He writes lucidly about the brutality, power, and control that overseers and slave drivers had on the plantations he lived in the South. In urban Savannah, he introduces us to the Savannah Watch, which is a group of white male citizens appointed to patrol the city streets in order to oversee the movements of black people. His account of the jail system in Savannah remains as one of the earliest known. He witnessed firsthand the horrific and barbaric conditions and wrote about it. In the free New England area, William Grimes also describes his encounters with ordinary citizens empowered to deputize any black person with questions about their whereabouts or their actions or where they're going. Today, of course, with the advent of cell phones, we see this same kind of self-appointed deputization played out almost daily. In terms of economic empowerment, William Grimes understood that home ownership would put him on solid financial footing akin to white people. So when his home was forced out of his hands and his family faced living in the streets, we can only imagine the seemingly impossible struggle it would take for him to start all over again. In fact, he would never recover the same financial means he once had. But my research shows a much different outcome for the heirs of Eagle's Nest, which was the home of William's white father, Benjamin Grimes. That plantation, which still stands, remained in the family for 300 years before it was sold to an outsider in 1974, the year I began school at Berkeley High's West Campus. His book ends with a very telling message to the government that I would like to read to you from my book. He writes, I hope some will buy my books from charity, but I am no beggar. I am now entirely destitute of property. Where and how I shall live, I don't know. Where and how I shall die, I don't know. But I hope that I may be prepared. If it were not for the stripes on my back, which were made while I was a slave, I would, in my will, Leave my skin as a legacy to the government, desiring that it might be taken off and made into parchment, and then bind the Constitution of glorious, happy, and free America. Let the skin of an American slave bind the charter of American liberty. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." Well, Black lives matter, and our stories matter too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I would encourage everyone to purchase this book. I've just begun to start reading it, and it's very captivating. Next, I would like to introduce community activist Tasha Henneman and school board member Julie Sinai to present the Next Generation Awards.
Hi, I'm Tasha Henneman.
And I'm Julie Sinai.
And we have the privilege of introducing 3 students who are being recognized for the Berkeley Martin Luther King Jr. Next Generation Leadership Award.
For the past 10 years, we as a community have elevated the importance of recognizing our emerging leaders, our next generation of activists who carry the spirit of Dr. King's mission to achieve social and economic justice in our world.
The Next Generation Leadership Awardees are selected in coordination with Berkeley High School's administrators and teachers to identify students who have been leaders in their community by promoting social justice, nonviolent resolution to conflict, and causes related to promoting peace and equality. Their actions have honored Dr. King's legacy.
Hadassah Zinor Davis is an outspoken voice for students and the voiceless. She found a love and passion for sticking up for what is right through organizing and participating in Black Lives Matter protests. For about 6 weeks straight, Hadassah was out every day marching, talking with her peers, and in her words, quote, feeling angry and taking action as we watched our country treat us like we were nothing. Hadassah helped organize her first protest with 2 other Berkeley High students and then hit the ground running, planning 3 additional protests on her own.
Thank you so much for granting me this award. I feel very grateful and honored to be noticed for all of my hard work. This summer, I was a part of coordinating about 4 protests that were to bring light to and put the spotlight on Black Lives Matter and show that our voices and our lives do in fact matter. I also participated in a protest to 3 or 4 protests every day for about 2 months straight while I was planning these protests and attending those as well and leading those. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. So the Black Lives Matter movement is important to me and should be important to everybody because our lives do matter, and it's been evident that to some people in this country they don't, and that's a problem. So we have to use our voices along with the voices of our allies to bring awareness and put a spotlight on this movement to show that we mean what we say and we're serious about it. In the future, I would like to have my own foundation, and I would like to be able to bring awareness as well as put money into different organizations. And I would like to just continue to show that we won't be silenced and that we do mean what we say, and that at the end of the day, the world is changing, society is changing, and we're not going to stay oppressed when we know that it's not right and that we can do something. So, yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Shayla Avery is one of the student organizers for Berkeley High School's Black Lives Matter actions over the last few months and helped to create the mural on Berkeley High School's campus. Her positive attitude, along with her creative arts and advocacy efforts, make her a powerful student leader, and we know she will be a change agent in the years to come.
Thank you so much for this award. I really appreciate it. I've worked so hard, and I'm so happy that you guys are recognizing it. Thank you. Black Lives Matter is important to me because first, I'm a black woman in this country. I'm a black young woman in this country. Growing up in this country, ever since I was little, I've learned about what has gone on with black people, my ancestors from the beginning. Slavery, my mom has always taught me what it means to be a black woman, why it's important to fight for your rights, why it's important to fight to be black in this country, fight for anything, honestly. This mural was at my first protest. So me and the co-organizers were trying to think of a way to get the crowd to get the crowd working throughout the protest, so how we could get everyone to be involved and help out. And my friend hit me up and was like, oh, I'm in contact with this mural artist. We could get a big Black Lives Matter mural in the street and it could happen during your protest. And we were like, okay, this is great, let's get it. She brought out, we got a team of students to help us out put it in the street, and it's really important to us because it's a representation of Berkeley High stands with us. You know, it's solidarity for all black students at Berkeley High. That's something that were really important to us because we wanted to let us be heard. Make sure that the teachers understand that we aren't being silenced and they feel us. They're allies to us, you know? I think it's important to keep up the legacy, to show that we're not stopping, to show that equality for all. Don't put one race on a pedestal and leave the other behind. We're fighting for everybody. We're fighting for everybody to be equal on the same page. It's important to keep it alive, and also for younger generations to see, so when I leave the school or continue on with my life, that they will keep doing this too, that it's not over. It doesn't take one person, it takes a collective. One of my majors I applied for policies is political science, maybe getting into law and being a lawyer of some type, or real estate, being in a real estate agent to help, homelessness and stuff. Listen to us, listen to what we have to say. Continue to listen to black youth, black people in general, black women. Support black organizers, support black businesses. Just be open-minded. And it's okay if you don't understand at first, because it's gonna be hard if you're not in with my shoes or not going what we're going through, but just be lenient and continue to grow with us.
This year's awardees, Niaja Roberson. Niaja has such a genuine, confident, and mature way that she carries herself. She is the co-author of a poem with Shayla Avery that became the dance short film, Dear Black Girls. Niaja is featured dancer in the choreo poem with a message of self-love. Her praise dance at the Black Lives Matter protest this summer was featured in the New York Times. In 2020, she taught a hip hop dance workshop during Black History Month to middle schoolers, and she was the MC for Berkeley High's Kwanzaa celebration.
Thank you so much for this award. I appreciate you calling out me to be honored to accept this award. The arts are important to me because it's my way of expression. It's my way of tapping into my full authentic self. And being my full authentic self is this black young woman. So when we think about protest and the Black Lives Matter movement, I think it's important that I use my body as a way of just telling a story, telling my ancestors' story. And when I stepped out and performed at the protest or any other events, whenever I perform, I think it's most important to dance or give any type of creative aspect. And not being allowed to dance, my ancestors were not allowed to dance back in the day. So being able to do that and express myself, and that even being my way of just feeling in my power, gives me strength, and I feel like I'm doing my ancestors justice.
There was a girl I knew who hated going outside in the summertime because she didn't want to get darker. She hated the color of her skin because no one else in the room looked like her. That girl now loves her chocolate melanin complexion and how it amazes others when she walks in a room. There was a girl I knew who was at the top of her class but never wanted to speak up because she didn't want to be considered that black girl. That girl now voices her opinions without any hesitation. There was a girl I knew who only wore extensions to school because she felt like her natural hair was too ugly, nappy, or distracting to be styled. That girl now embraces all her kinks and curls that formulate her crown. There was a girl I knew who hated her body because it didn't capture what society thought was beautiful. That girl now has learned that beauty is within. To be beautiful, you must look beyond the surface. There was a girl I knew who felt like the world was against her. She was suffocating in her own skin. That girl now knows her power. She knows that her skin matters. Her voice matters. She matters. She is beautiful inside and out. That girl is me. Dear Black girls, don't be afraid to voice your opinions, thoughts, and all of your emotions because they are just as important as anyone else's. Your voice is powerful. When you speak, speak with confidence, courage, and purpose. Always remember that you are beautiful, strong, and intelligent. Always stay true to yourself. You are not an angry Black woman. You're just a bomb-ass woman. Never let others dim your sparkling light. Continue to be the light in a dark world.
While we honor current leaders, elders, and those that came before us for their lifetime achievements in the struggle for civil rights and economic and social justice, we take this moment to be inspired by the next generation of leaders, artists, and champions for peace and justice who are finding their voice in their youth.
Congratulations, Niaja, Shayla, and Hadassah.
Congratulations, woo woo!
How powerful those messages were. Let us continue to encourage our young leaders of today and our future. Next, we'd like to move into the Community Action Award recipients, and we will start with Carolyn Mims.
Good morning. Life's most persistent question is about serving others. What are we doing for others? And that is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. So this morning, we'd like to acknowledge and honor 5 of the City of Berkeley's food banks that have continued in the midst of the pandemic. Then we continue to look for the times when people are in need. So these 5 honorees today have been feeding people food and feeding their souls. Let's start here at St. Paul AME Church in South Berkeley.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Jackson. I am a co-coordinator. Alongside of me is Brother Bernard Miles and Brother Terry Jackson. This program initiated back in the early 80s with Sister and Brother Jewel and Joe Battles, and it actually started in Oakland at the Lafayette Park. It was then transferred or moved to our facility right here at St. Paul, Berkeley, where we have been feeding over 500 persons. Right now, every Tuesday of the month, we made sure that we fed the housed, the unhoused, the community as a whole, and anyone in need. We don't just feed the homeless, we feed the hungry. So anybody that is in need, we're here to serve. Our dining hall, located behind me, that's every Tuesday of the month. But since the coronavirus, we had to temporarily shut our doors. We didn't actually shut our doors, but we did have to meet to find out what are we going to do and how are we going to continue to serve the needs of the people in the city of Berkeley. So our pastor said at one of our official board meetings, whatever we do, we cannot close the doors of our feeding program because it is so needed. So with that being said, we put our heads together and we decided we'll just do it once a month. We're not just feed our hot meals, which we normally fed. We feed hot meals to go and go bags, and we make sure that everybody is accepted and receives those bags. We also have, on that same day, we provide the house. So we give boxes and bags of produce, such as turkey, chicken, roast beef, and also vegetables such as bok choy, collard greens, yams. Every vegetable you can think of is given in those boxes. as well as eggs, milk, fruit, and vegetables. So we take pride in what we've done. We have people coming from all over the Bay Area, from Richmond to East Oakland, right here in Berkeley. This program at St. Paul AME Church in Berkeley allows us to go and venture way out the scope of Berkeley. So we want to thank the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's Breakfast Committee for acknowledging our award. It is an honor, it is a privilege, and we are so blessed and we are so thankful to receive this award. God bless you all.
Here we are at the Berkeley Food Network at Knifton University. The network's been here at this location about a year, but it's 4 years old. In 2016, some people realized that what the Berkeley Food Pantry was doing was not sufficient to the actual amount of food distress there is in our community. So it's been here. It serves about 19,000 meals a month to about 10 or 12,000 people. So what they do is remarkable. And of course, in tune with what we're trying to promote this year at the breakfast, they can use more volunteers anytime, and they can also use more donations anytime. So you'll see the amazing work that is being done here and how deserving they are of one of our awards this year.
Hi, on behalf of the Berkeley Food Network, I'd like to thank the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee for the honor of being selected as one of the organizations you're highlighting this year. The Berkeley Food Network currently is serving about 5,000 individuals a week with really healthy, abundant amounts of food. Prior to COVID-19, we were serving as many as 1,600 individuals a week, but the need, as you can see, has tripled. We are so grateful for a really supportive community. We've received so many donations, so many volunteers. It's just been a big collaborative effort to get food out to everyone in the community who needs it. The core of the Berkeley Food Network's work is collaboration. We work with partners who actually pick up pre-packed bags from our warehouse and bring them to their own organizations where they know people, they understand the kinds of food people want and how much food they need, and deliver it themselves. This actually means that we really know who needs food in the community, and we are finding the best ways we can to get it to them. Our food is often locally sourced. It's extremely healthy. One of the things that our clients really love about the Berkeley Food Network is that we provide a lot of organic, locally grown produce. Some of it donated from local farms and others that we purchase to help keep the funds in the community. We are, again, so grateful to be part of Berkeley, where everyone is so generous, so concerned about each other, and so interested in collaborating. If you are interested in being more involved with the Berkeley Food Network, you can visit our website, which is www.berkeleyfoodnetwork.org, and learn about how you can volunteer, how you can donate, and you can contact us if you're interested in supporting us in some other way. We are really open to any kind of work that people want to do on our behalf.
Here we are at Urban Adama. We're at 6th and Harrison in Northwest Berkeley. And Urban Adama's run this kind of farm here for about 5 years before they were located near Parker and San Pablo. So the organization is about 10 years old. Its director, Adam, will tell you more about it, but they have about 15,000 visitors a year. And they also interact with the Berkeley Food Network. They provide the Food Network with the fresh produce that the network distributes, and apparently that's one of the more popular items that are in demand at the Berkeley Food Network. Okay, let's go on and take a look at Urban Adama and all they've accomplished here.
Thank you, Maxim, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee for recognizing Urban Adama and for deciding to honor us this year along with the other organizations that are being included. As Maxime, you said, Urban Adamah is about 10 years old. We've been working at the intersection of Jewish values, sustainability, mindfulness, and social justice over our first decade to try to bring a greater sense of community and to try to help people connect to themselves and to one another and to the earth in ways that we think elevate and make life even more meaningful. Particularly appreciative of the honor this year, given that we hope that what we're doing is the kind of work in many ways that Martin Luther King Jr. would have thought were as important in a community, bringing people together and really thinking about what it means to be a community as opposed to a bunch of individuals who happen to live in proximity to one another. I'll say that after, Maxime, you shared the award that we're receiving this year at Urban Adamah, I was really thinking about some of the values that animate our work that I think resonate with what the committee hopes for to achieve in the community. And I was thinking about some of the signs that we have up. If people come and visit, or if you've been to the farm before, you'll see that there's one sign up on our walls that says Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, which in Hebrew means love your fellow as yourself. And there's another sign up on the farm that says Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof, which means justice, justice shall you pursue. And I think about those as really animating our work, believing that we have a responsibility, all of us, to pursue justice in myriad ways, and that we have a responsibility to think about our fellows with as much love and compassion and care as we do for ourselves. And I'll share one other quote that I was thinking about, and that's a quote from Lila Watson, who's an Aboriginal activist in Australia, who said essentially, if you've come here to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you've come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. And on our best days, that's what we really strive to do at Urban Adamah, is to bring people together in community and to figure out how we can work together so that we are inching our way or maybe leaping our way towards collective liberation. And I'll just add that for folks watching this, again, we have so much gratitude to the committee for selecting us as a recipient of an award this year. And we would love for folks to come and visit. If you've been to the farm, we invite you to come back. And if you've never been, we invite you to come visit. Obviously, during these days of COVID and the pandemic, we have far fewer people on the site. We're able to welcome people in much smaller numbers. But you can go to urbanadamah.org and see all the programs that we're doing, both virtually and in person, and we would love to have you come and join us. And I'll just add, because the committee invited me to, if people do decide to give to Urban Adamah, just make a note on your donation that it's coming as a result of the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee's honoring of us. And whatever you give, half of that we will pass on to another organization doing food justice and community justice work, so that your generosity doesn't end with us, but is spread out wider and more broadly in the community. And thank you so much for the honor. We really, really appreciate it and feel really gratified by it.
Good morning, Captain Harris and Reverend Hughes. So good to be with you here this morning. I want to just take a moment to just introduce one of our community organizational awardees, McGee Avenue Baptist Church, which has been serving food to the community and tending to the community's spiritual and physical needs since 1982. In a moment, you're going to hear from Pastor Mike Smith about the great work that they're doing. And we're just so grateful for their leadership in the Berkeley community, lifting souls and spirits and tending to the physical needs of our community. So thank you very much. And with that, let's hear from Mike Smith.
So first I want to start by thanking the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee for recognizing McGee Avenue Baptist Church for our feeding ministry. This ministry has been going on since 1982. And we're so excited. When the pandemic hit last year, there were calls in the community, there were calls even in the church that we were going to have to suspend or shut the food program down. But due to the efforts, particularly of our Center for Food, Faith, and Justice, we were able to leverage several grants through the San Francisco Foundation, the Seeds for Peace organization back in Richmond, Virginia, as well as the United Way. and then some various and sundry family foundations, we were able to not only keep the doors to our food program open, that we had said to the city that we were indeed an essential business, but we were able to expand. We've generally, since 1982, served a hot meal 3 days a week. With the additional resources that we were able to secure, we've been able to expand our feeding ministry to 5 days a week. And so now, since last March, we've been serving an evening meal from 4 to 5. And we're really excited about that. We've increased our capacity as well for our pantry that we do every Monday, our food pantry. And so we're really excited, and we're really thankful not only to the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Community for the recognition, but really for the people in the community that we continue to serve. We're really trying to uplift and elevate through this pandemic. We know that there are many families, many individuals that are challenged because they're unhoused, they're unemployed, they're suffering with illness, mass poverty. We know all those things exist, but what we've tried to continue to do is be a beacon of light here in the midst of the storm. And so we're hoping that while this continues, we will be able not only to continue, but to continue to expand and enhance what we're doing in the context of this community. We couldn't do it without a real partnership and a team effort. And so I'm really excited and thankful for all of the volunteers that come and serve Meals to Go. When I told the crew that we could continue to serve, but we couldn't serve in the dining hall, that they would have to be meals at the back door, they said, "Pastor, that's great. We're going to make it happen," and they did. And so in this celebratory moment, as we recognize Dr. King and we think about what he meant, not just to America, not just to black folks or to white folks, but to the world, and that vision that we would truly be the beloved community, I think that we're trying to make our corner of that happen here at McGee. So again, thank you very much. We love you, and God bless.
Now let's take a look at the Dorothy Day House program. You'll get to learn more about it in a second, but I do want to just acknowledge that in addition to doing the feeding and the basic needs programs, they're a leader in this area in Berkeley, and recently organized merchants to contribute to their Double Helping Hand program, and they're consummate organizers. So with that, let's listen to them.
I'd like to take this time and this opportunity to recognize the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee for recognizing us and the wonderful work that we do here, and recognizing the importance of feeding the unsheltered and providing services that are so valuable and so needed in our community. On any given day, we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner to the unsheltered community. You see behind me, we have already plated the food for today's lunch service. We anticipate anywhere from 100 to 110 people today. Our numbers used to be a little lower due to COVID and the state of which we find ourselves. Our numbers have increased. They've increased to include those people who are just having a hard time making ends meet. We also provide a day program, which is the Berkeley Community Resource Center. We provide showers, laundry, clean clothing, much needed PPE, and a locker program where people don't have to worry about their things getting lost or stolen. Without this program, I don't know what else people would do. We also have 2 shelters currently that are running 24 hours a day. The shelter here at the 1931 Center Street, and also the Best Shelter, which is across the street at the old City Hall. We need your support, and we appreciate your support. We can't do this alone. We are completely volunteer and donation driven. Our motto is, what we can do, we will do. And what we can't do, we'll find those who can. We are so proud to be able to have linked people into housing, employment, the simple thing of obtaining an ID. We open our wallets, we don't think about it, we just grab our ID. Because we've had to reduce services inside, we took the work outside. We created the MOST program, which is Mobile Outreach Service Team, and the SPOT team, Street Team Outreach Partners. We go out into the encampments, we bring everything that we have here outside where it's much needed. Your amazing support is going to allow us to continue our mission. And Dorothy Day said, love is the answer. And food for the body is not enough. There must be food for the soul. And we, the staff, the volunteers, and the participants and guests, we recognize that to be true. And we thank you so much for your support.
So we'd like to thank our Community Action Award groups. Because we're virtual this year, we did not have a lot of costs associated with the breakfast. And so with your sponsorships and your donations, we are able to give $2,500 to our community award recipients. And we are so thankful that you continue to sponsor us and that you continue to provide donations. And I see my co-host is up.
Yes, I made it back.
Okay.
We also are pleased as we thank all of our donors for the opportunity to give each of our Next Generation Award winners, Hadassah, Shayla, and Nyaja, each will receive $500. And again, thanks to the generosity of our sponsors. God bless you real good. And now we thank all of you for participating with us on today. We've had a wonderful program. Our maiden voyage doing it virtually, and so grateful to each of you for your patience and your participation and your support. So without further ado, let me introduce the Reverend Dr. Ambrose Carroll, the senior pastor of the church by the side of the road and the CEO of Green the Church, who will bring us our closing prayer.
This is no time to play, to dream, to drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. Shun not the struggle, for I tell you the struggle is the gift. Now may we receive our benediction. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Be blessed until next year.
Thank you so much for participating in our virtual breakfast this year. We do have some special acknowledgments we'd like to make. We would like to acknowledge Crystal No from Lifelong Medical, who was so instrumental in helping us put together this virtual Zoom presentation. And so we are so thankful. We would also like to acknowledge our 2021 committee members, Mark Copeland, Fred Fassett, Donald Frazier, Roger Gould, Jackie Hammond, Tasha Henneman, Pastor Anthony Hughes, Ruben Lizardo, Gregory McAfna, Carolyn Mims, Diane Ramus, Julie Sinai, Maxine Schrogen. And we are just so thankful to our committee for the effort that they put in to make sure that we could bring this to you. We are so grateful to you. We are so thankful to you. God bless everyone. Pastor?
I think you said it all, Captain. God bless each and every one, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you.